Who is Keir Starmer? It's a question still asked by many voters, despite him being Labour leader for a year, when the nation has been gripped by politics, which has actually been a matter of life and death. It is also a question now been asked even by some of his closest allies and supporters in the Labour Party. Everybody knows who he isn't. Elected in the wake of Labour's worst election result for 88 years, he isn't Jeremy Corbyn. He isn't tainted by the allotment botherers vote-losing combination of hard left, unpatriotic posturing, incontinent spending and tolerance of anti-Semitism. For that, a big tick. But a year after a confident, if unspectacular acceptance speech, delivered on Zoom inevitably, it remains unclear what he's really about.
Under my leadership, we will engage constructively with the government. Not opposition for opposition's sake.
Boris Johnson first mocked him as a lawyer who chops and changes with the brief.
We know how it works. He takes one brief 1 week, one brief the next. He's consistent only in his opportunism, whereas we get on with our agenda. Build for jobs.
That was until internal polling and focus groups pointed out that the public didn't mind lawyers. Then he was mocked for just finding fault after the event, but he tried to turn that to his advantage.
It's entirely typical, I may say, of Captain Hindsight, that he now attacks our efforts to procure PPE.
He talks about hindsight, I say catch up.
Some argue it was hard for Labour during a pandemic with the opposition urged to pull together in the national interest. But what if this was a golden opportunity to tap into the nation's concerns? In September, he found his voice and called for a circuit breaker lockdown. But since then, he rather seems to have lost his voice.
There's no longer time to give this Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt. The government's plan simply isn't working. Another course is needed.
And then, of course, there's the NHS. Of course the Labour Party likes nurses, but that unimaginative politics isn't going to win an election.
A vote for Labour is a vote to support our nurses, our doctors, our NHS staff.
The truth is, he's been more ruthless with his own side than with the government. First he sacked Rebecca Long-Bailey and later kicked out Jeremy Corbyn over anti-Semitism, then let him back in, then kicked him out again.
No, I'm not part of the problem.
This has made him a villain for the hard-left Corbynistas, though increasingly they are being joined by those on the right of the party who also wonder what he's all about. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. On the day he became leader, Labour was some 24 points behind the Tories. In more recent surveys, he's got that down to single figures, having even edged ahead at times last year. He also polls better than most opposition leaders, except Tony Blair. Is he really Tony Blair, leading the party out of the political wilderness and into power?
A new dawn has broken, has it not?
Or is he Neil Kinnock, cleaning up after the scruffy old Marxist, kicking out the nutty hard left before handing over to the next generation?
You end in the grotesque chaos of a Labour council hiring taxis to scuttle around the city, handing out redundancy notices to its own workers.
A recent return to Labour dysfunctionality and infighting in Liverpool has brought back memories of Kinnock's own fight with militant in the city. So he's not Jeremy Corbyn, but when will he tell us who he is? Some say he's just keeping his powder dry. But what if he just has no powder?